All right, Madam Chair, we are just having a few people join us now, so I will let you know that we do have quorum. I'll quickly do our little introduction here as well. So with regrets from the committee today, we do not have Glenn Griffiths, Megan Kerrigan, or Janice Wilby have confirmed they will not be here. William McMillan and Nicholas Stryker are not here yet, but they have not sent their regrets. So hopefully they will be along. Also, in terms of staff today, you have myself, Derek O'Shea, the committee clerk, as well as Janet James, the deputy city clerk, in attendance. Also, we have, just check my list here. Sorry, I'm getting used to the new process here. Mohammed Hassan, who hopefully I get your title right, Mohammed, is the manager of equity, diversity, and inclusion for the city. I often mess that up because I used to work in solid waste and say diversion instead of diversity. So I'll apologize if I do that sometime in the future. But with that, I think I have covered everything, Madam Chair, so we can go ahead and start the meeting.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'd like to bring our meeting to order today for the Municipal Accessibility Advisory Committee. I can't believe it's September already. Where's the summer gone? It's great to see everybody here, though. Great that people could make it as well during some of the vacation time. For the next item on our agenda, we have the approval of the agenda. Derek did send out an addendum earlier this week. Does anyone have any additions that they would like to have added to our agenda?
Not seeing any, Madam Chair.
Okay, so can I have a show of hands for a mover and a seconder to approve our agenda for today?
Lots of hands. We'll go with Leah, who is first as a mover, and Councillor Neal as the seconder.
Thank you. And can we have a show of hands for all of those in favor? And that includes myself.
And that passes, Madam Chair, unanimously.
All right, next we have confirmation of minutes from our previous meeting on Thursday, June 3rd. Can I have a mover and a seconder to confirm the minutes?
We have a mover from Dorothy Ann and a seconder from Susan.
And a show of hands of all of those in favor, and that includes myself.
And that passes unanimously, Madam Chair.
Okay, moving on to item 4, disclosure of pecuniary interest. Do we have any disclosure for today's meeting?
I am not seeing any, Madam Chair.
Okay, so we will move along to item 5, delegations. We have Donald Sala, Lisa Kelly, and Louis DePalma from the Ontario Chamber of Commerce with us today, and they'll be speaking to the committee about the Discoverability Network. So I will pass the floor over to our presenters, and then we'll have some time at the end if anyone has any questions or comments.
Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate you having us here today. Louis sends his regrets. He was not able to make it. I am joined by my colleague, Lisa Kelly, who is a program manager with the Ontario Chamber of Commerce. My name is Donald Lucy Sala. I am also a program manager with the Ontario Chamber of Commerce. Could we have the next slide, please? So as the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, we're obviously very concerned with the health of business, and we hear a lot from businesses about what the barriers they're facing are. And the number one barrier that we've heard, or issue we've heard from our members, is a skills shortage, which is limiting business growth and development. And so, of course, we are looking for a solution to this issue. And one of the solutions we have determined is very appropriate and represents a very high quality opportunity for businesses, is accessing the talent pool of people with disabilities, which represents a relatively untapped talent pool that can help provide innovation and growth and measured return on investment. Can we have the next slide, please? So just some statistics around disability and the Canadian population, the important part of this slide to take away is that 20% or 1 in 5 Canadians are people with disabilities. So this represents the fastest growing and largest diversity group in the country. And when we're talking about untapped labor pools or talent pools that can help provide remedy to the skills shortage being faced by businesses, this seems like an obvious talent pool to target. Next slide, please. So when we're thinking about hiring people with disabilities and promoting this idea to businesses, we feel it's important that they are aware that over 75% of businesses who hire people with disabilities do indicate that they meet or exceed expectations. So it's not a question of the quality or qualifications of the talent. The overall effect of hiring inclusively has been positive and has resulted in increased productivity and profitability for businesses. The costs related to onboarding and retaining talent with a disability are relatively low. 60% of accommodations cost nothing, and over 90% of accommodations are a one-time cost of less than $500. And the Discoverability Network will provide training and support to assist businesses in order to find, recruit, and retain talent with a disability in order to address this skills shortage. Next slide, please. So what is the Discoverability Network? I'm glad you asked. We have 3 core elements to support our work. We are a program within the Ontario Chamber of Commerce that is designed specifically to facilitate connections between businesses and job seekers with disabilities. So we have an online job matching platform that connects businesses with qualified talent with a disability to meet their business and workforce needs. We provide free training on a host of disability and employment related topics that are relevant to businesses, including hiring and retaining talent with a disability, accommodations and disclosure, and building inclusive workplaces. And we coordinate networking events that are available to employers and job seekers in order to bring them together, make connections, and increase and build disability confidence within business. Next slide, please. So everybody always wants to know what the cost of these kind of resources is. The best part is there is no cost. These supports and resources are free to businesses, and we will support their use of the platform and accessing our services in order to be successful, inclusive employers. So we are here today to request that the Kingston Municipal Accessibility Advisory Committee present a resolution to the Kingston City Council formally recommending a formal endorsement of the Discoverability Network, as well as for the City of Kingston to use the Discoverability Network as an inclusive employer in order to hire and retain talent with a disability. And I think I came in at under 5 minutes, which is amazing because I'm typically not very concise. So thank you once again for having us. You can see there's some contact information there for us and for Lisa in particular, if you would like to get in touch. And if you have any questions, I would welcome them now, or if Lisa has anything she'd like to add, please feel free to do so. I see Dorothy Ann has her hand up.
Hi, sounds like an interesting program. I'm wondering what sort of information you have about success rates in terms of placing people and finding them employment. Just looking for outcomes.
So that's a good question. Sorry, Lisa, you want to go ahead?
Sure. So we've been, the program's been up for about 5 years, Dorothy Ann. And over that time, because of information and privacy, we weren't allowed to access people's personal accounts. However, we have been, in the last 6 months, we've started tracking. And at this point in the last, I think, 2 months, we've had over 30 hires. We're working with some large scale employers, such as CBC, Radio Canada, who's hired multiple people. Companies like DSV, who are looking to hire 200 people in the next 2 years. We're working on that with a community living Mississauga. So we're growing that. And as we engage more employers, we're able to track. So if you ask me next month, I hope that number continues to go up. But yeah, it was a big gap in our program. We do know that we have about 1,400 employers on the system now. And we do have about 2,000 job seekers.
Okay, just needed some info. Yep, thanks.
No problem. Any other questions?
Councillor Needle had his hand up.
Thank you very much. It's a very interesting program. I'm curious. I'm on a couple of I'm on too many local boards, but two of the local boards I'm on are Tourism Kingston and also the DBIA, the Downtown Business Association. And I'm curious if you've had an opportunity to reach out to those kinds of more localized employers rather. I know that there's a distinct shortage of restaurant staff and also of retail staff in Kingston right now.
Absolutely. I think that's an issue that's being faced across most of the province for a lot of different employers. We are going to be reaching out to associations. So I've just added those to our list. So we'll be doing that. We do coordinate closely with the chambers of commerce. So the Greater Kingston Chamber of Commerce has been very active, introduced us to Keys Employment, who we're working with very closely to build some relationships. So I will definitely add tourism and the DBA to that list. Thank you for suggesting that.
Do we have any other questions?
Madam Chair, I'm not seeing any hands, so I think that wraps up the Q&A portion.
All right, I just had one final comment for our presenters. Just in terms of potential partnerships and opportunities, I know that the CNIB has quite a large come to work program that they're trying to push out to pursue employment and connecting with employers, very similar to the type of work that you are doing. It might be an opportunity to connect, to share some resources.
Actually, Caitlin, we've been doing that. And
okay.
CNIB has made sure that our platform is fully accessible to blind candidates, and we've placed 10 of their candidates with a local employer, and CPC actually recently hired one of their candidates. So we work very closely with them and train regularly with their candidates.
That is amazing. I had no idea. Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, well, I think that wraps everything up for our presentation. So thank you both so much for being here and presenting to the committee about the Discoverability Network. It's very interesting, really looking forward to seeing how things progress and move forward. Thank you guys.
And just before we leave, Caitlin, so we're really hoping that you can forward a recommendation to the City of Kingston. Will you be following up with us on, as the committee, on whether or not that will go ahead?
I believe we can, yes.
Okay, great. We
Derek,
can
correct me if I'm wrong.
Madam Chair, what we can do is discuss ways that this can be formalized moving forward. At this meeting, not possible just because of our notice, but you also do have a member of Kingston City Council that sits on this committee as well. So you, myself, and Janet can chat about this after the meeting. And I think Councillor Neal may want to add a comment here. So Caitlin, if you want to give him the floor.
Councillor Neal, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Just quickly, there's a couple of ways procedurally we can do this. I can move it. We can get a seconder. It can go forward as a notice of motion to council. Also, though, if it's a formalized motion, and that would, I believe, have to wait till our next committee meeting, and that would go forward as a recommendation from this committee. Either way works. It's probably quicker to do it through through a council motion. Derek, when is our next meeting of this committee?
Meeting of this committee is in November.
So yeah, I'd be happy to take that forward.
Thank you very much, Councillor Neal.
If you could send me either a sample motion that other municipalities have passed, that would be helpful. And it's just jneal with 2 L's at cityofkingston.ca.
I may interject, I can help also connect Councillor Neal and the two members. So I think that's good. We'll turn it back over to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Councillor Neal. Okay, we will move on to our next item, which is briefings. Seeing none, we'll move to our business section. So item A is the Accessibility Office Report from Q2 2021, and I will pass the floor to Janet.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good to see everybody. Hope you enjoyed your summer. I'll try and keep this brief for you today. I do have a few updates for you. First of all, in terms of the municipal accessibility feedback statistics, in Q1 of this year, there were 86 inquiries, as we reported in our report at that time, and in Q2, there were 69. We believe that the excuse me. We believe that the decrease in inquiries, which were largely in the public works area, with concerns related to snow and ice, making streets and pathways and trails more accessible, we believe the reduction is primarily due to the sort of the pleasant weather in the spring months. Beyond that, Madam Chair, if you're willing, I'm happy to provide the work plan sort of update at this time as well, or did you want me to wait until that point in the agenda?
If we are okay to add them together, that is okay with me.
Certainly. I find it flows a little easier for me just because the work plan is actually attached to the report, which is the business item. So the work plan itself identifies, of course, the items that are going to be completed over the next year. We are doing very well in completing the items that we have identified. We're on track. The only item that's a little bit delayed is a report coming from my office, and that is the annual update on the multi-year accessibility plan. And just due to volume of work, I wasn't able to get that completed for the meeting in September, but I expect to bring that to you at our meeting in November, at which time we will also expect to receive updates from the Recreation Programs and Special Events Office, Transportation and Public Works, and the Q3 update from myself and the working group reports. So I expect that meeting to be a little more substantive than our meeting today. I also wanted to give a little bit of an update on the Rick Hansen Foundation Accessibility Certification. You'll recall that there were two sites that were selected for this, the Rideau Heights Community Center and the Kingston East Community Center. The Rideau Heights Community Center audit was undertaken, and we expect the results of that audit very shortly. Janice Wilby did attend with the auditors. So it was nice that we were able to have somebody from the committee join that process. And we will be scheduling the audit for the Kingston East Community Center at some point in the future. Right now, the building is under such a heavy state of construction that it's just not accessible. I also wanted to update on Disabilities Mentoring Day. That's a program that the city has participated in for many years. It is held on the last Wednesday in October, which this year is the 27th of October. We will be participating again, and the program pairs city staff with mentees, and they spend the day together doing various things, just depending on what the what the qualifications and the work experience that the mentees are looking for, and what mentors the city has available. I think we made 3 matches last year. And matches were able to be conducted virtually. I expect that may be a possibility again this year, but I'm not 100% certain. And then the final update is on the Celebrating Accessibility Awards. Based on some of the enhancements that we made last year, one of the recommendations was for a longer nomination period. So there was a soft launch of the nomination portal in late August. That is open now. So we would appreciate any help that the committee can give us in sharing that information, with your friends and family and colleagues and across your networks to ensure that we receive lots of nominations and have a good variety to choose from when it comes time for the selection panel to meet. And we will be discussing that a little bit more in our awareness and education working group meeting, which is just going to follow this meeting. So anybody is welcome to join. Thank you. Any questions? I'm happy to answer them.
Does anyone have any questions for Janet?
I am not seeing any hands, Madam Chair.
Okay, so are we able to move on to the next item, or is there anything that we need to do in between, Derek?
Nope, for an information report, that's everything. So we can move on to the next agenda item.
Okay, thank you. So our next item on our agenda is working group reports from the Built Environment Working Group. Over to you, David.
Thanks, Caitlin. Yeah, we've been moving along for, I always get confused about the quarterly reports, but we're working from May here onwards. We didn't work during the summer, but we had some, as you can see from the report, we have been meeting and having briefings from a couple of departments, the rec programs. We thought that maybe if we did something from Rec and Leisure, we might get a heads up in May about things that were happening over the summer, which was really very helpful. And then in June, Trevor Frey from the Kingston Transit, the Access Bus, came to talk to us about their programming, and or a few of us that are using the Access Bus. So it was kind of neat to see that again. They've had quite a bit of a kicking since the pandemic has landed. So, but they're building back up again. So getting busier and that sort of thing. So that was good. So we've been fairly busy with, on top of that, with the site plans. We didn't do meetings in July and August, but our site plans continued steady, but not really busy. Although last time I said that we got more, and I just said it again. So sorry, gang, we may be getting some this week. And then, yeah, and one of the other things that we do lastly is we do the initial site plan review, but during the course of development, design, and construction, we either do walkthroughs or meet with project leaders to get updates. So we did that, managed to do that with a couple of parks through the summer. And Glenn, there were three of us, Glenn and myself. No, maybe there were just two of us. We went through the new fire rescue training center off Sir John A. Pretty amazing. Anyway, really nice development and lots of green energy attached to the whole building. So fabulous. So those are continuing, as are our projects. And lastly, just to follow up from what Janet said, Janice Wilby from our working group came or went to the Rideau Heights walkthrough with Rick Hansen's audit. So if you guys want some heads up detail before we get the final on it, Janice might be the person to chat with. And other than that, we've got our meeting in 2 weeks from today, and we've got a couple of other briefings planned for the fall, and we're doing okay. So I think that's it for me. Fun times.
Busy summer. Thanks, David, for that update. Does anyone have any questions or comments about the Built Environment Working Group update?
Madam Chair, I'm not seeing any hands at this moment.
Okay, so can we have a mover and seconder to approve that we have received this update from the Built Environment Working Group?
I have Sherry moving and Andrew seconding.
And with a show of hands, can we have all of those in favor? And that includes myself.
And that passes unanimously, Madam Chair.
Okay, so next we have item C, project team appointments. So the first, I believe the first couple already have people appointed. We just need to confirm the appointments, and then we have some other project teams that we're looking for representatives for, and then we will do a vote at the end. So the first item is the third crossing, and that is myself as the representative for that project team. Second is City Hall Market Street Ramp Structural Repairs, and that is William McMillan. Our third item is the Celebrating Accessibility Awards 2021, and we are looking for 4 representatives.
Oh, if you wish to volunteer for these, I think the best method is raise your hand on camera, and then I can just let Caitlin know that we have a volunteer. This is a fun project team. You get to work with me. Okay, Susan, thank you. And I see Dorothy Ann has raised her virtual hand. So I have 2. Looking at the screen elsewhere. We also, oh, David, I saw your hand up. And Leah as well. So we have our 4 there. Thank you very much. I'm just going to make those in the notes, Madam Chair, and we can move on to the next project team.
Wonderful, thank you. And our next project team that we are looking for 2 representatives for is the City Hall exterior signage. Would anyone like to volunteer for this project team? Please raise your hand if you would like to.
Not seeing any hands at this time. So this is one we can put out to the group since we have several members who are not here. We can just put this in abeyance for the moment, Madam Chair.
Okay, and Derek, if you don't mind, I would like to volunteer for this.
I absolutely do not mind, Madam Chair. And I know if I can just interject for a second before the next project team, which I believe is City Hall, the railings, correct?
Yes.
I had spoken with the project lead for this because it's a limited project. And then there's another similar one for Memorial Hall that you'll see a little bit on in the agenda. The project lead had agreed we could essentially merge these project teams so that if somebody were interested in volunteering for both of them, it could just be like one team just for efficiency's sake. So perhaps we can see if you're all right with it, if somebody would be interested in doing both of those, or perhaps 2 people, and they could split the work.
Okay, that sounds good. So we're going to merge the City Hall main staircase with the Memorial Hall renovation?
Yep, they're both fairly limited time project team. And they will be occurring around the same time.
Okay, so we are looking for 2 representatives.
1 hand from Susan. Thank you, Susan. Anybody else at this time? I'm seeing none. And again, I'll remind people, if after the fact you realize you have some time or interest, please don't hesitate to email me and reach out.
Okay, thank you, Susan. And we
I
will
have-
move. Oh.
Sorry, a couple of hands up here. I saw Dorothy Ann and Councillor Neal raise their hands. maybe were you volunteering? Go ahead and unmute and help clarify. Thank you.
I was just raising my hand because I find it really hard to estimate in my mind how much time commitment any of these things take, because although I've been on a bunch of different committees so far, virtually they've required nothing of me. So I don't know, and the transit stops that I've been volunteered to look after hasn't moved forward. So I don't know. It makes it very difficult to volunteer when you have no idea what the time commitment or even where the timeline is. So you can't plan for what's going on the rest of your life. So I'm not sure if that can be clarified a little bit, just to make things easier.
Excellent point. And Madam Chair, do you mind if I speak to that?
No, go ahead, Derek.
Very valid points, Dorothy Ann. What Janet and I are working on with staff is trying to have them include in the project team requests when they anticipate work starting and for the duration. So I believe for the ones from City Hall, the most recent ones, our staff is very good at including that in there. But I know there are some projects like your transit stops one has been delayed due to COVID and other issues. So points well taken, and we'll continue to work with our project leads to get that specificity. Now, Madam Chair, I believe Councillor Neal also had his hand up. I'm not sure if he wished to speak.
Councillor Neal.
Thank you very much. Just very quickly, I have done some in the not in the recent past, but in the far past, and enjoyed it. There was a recommendation that the elected official probably shouldn't be on these. I never quite understood why that was. If you can't find, if those people that are absent aren't available, I'd be happy to lend a hand with the signage at City Hall, for instance. So put that in your back pocket if you need somebody.
Thank you, Councillor Neal. Also, if we don't have anyone else that we reached out to for the combination project for the City Hall and Memorial Hall, I wouldn't mind assisting with that to join Susan.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I'll put you down anyway, so that way you can sort of receive the updates and then choose between you and Susan who will be able to attend and assist. But that is a limited time project, so it should be fairly easy for one or both of you. And I think, Madam Chair, that leaves us with one project team left.
Yes, that's correct. So our final project team is Grand Theater Renovations, and we're looking for 2 representatives.
I am seeing Leah with her hand up.
Thank you, Leah.
You. And that is all. Oh, and Susan as well. Susan. Thank you very much. Now, if I may digress a second, again, Madam Chair.
Yep.
Just for people's benefit, we often assign 2 project team members in the case of one person is unavailable because, as Dorothy Ann said, life happens and you're volunteering, and we really appreciate that. So we pick 2 volunteers, so at least one person should be available most times. So again, don't feel any excess pressure on yourself on these. We do appreciate everybody's time volunteering for these. And now I will end my digression.
Thank you. That's great information. So now that we have had an opportunity to have people appointed to the various project teams, can we have a mover and seconder for approval to the appointments for these projects?
I have Dorothy Ann moving and Leah seconding.
And with a show of hands, all of those in favor, and that includes myself.
And Madam Chair, that passes unanimously.
Okay, so the next item on our agenda is motions. Seeing none. Number 9 is notices of motion. Also seeing none. Item 10 is other business.
I'm not seeing anybody raise a hand for other business, Madam Chair.
Okay. Item 11 is correspondence, also seeing none. The next date for our next meeting is Thursday, November 4th, 2021 at 1 p.m. And last but not least, adjournment. Can I have a mover and a seconder to adjourn our meeting for today?
I have moved by Councillor Neal, as always, seconded by Sherry.
And with a show of hands, all of those in favor, and that includes myself.
And that carries unanimously, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining us today.
And for those